Padgett made a cake herself, hoping to surprise her boyfriend on his birthday. But the moment she opened the door, she froze.
What do you think they're doing?
Okay, let's not freak out here, okay?
Blinded by anger, she completely lost control and even forgot to manage her expression.
Almond flowers in your chart during your I hate you! After everything Padgett! What?
Only after Alden quietly reminded her did Padgett realize she was still live streaming, but it was already too late, and she had no idea this disaster would soon bring an unexpected romance into her life. With millions of followers, Padgett was the most popular girl at school, and by carefully creating the image of a wealthy socialite, she had risen from a poor girl living in a cheap apartment to the shining queen of an elite private school. To protect that image, she woke up 2 hours early every morning and traveled from her modest home to a luxury apartment, fooling even her wealthy best friends Alden and Quinn. But what Padgett was proudest of was turning her unfashionable boyfriend Jordan into one of the hottest guys at school. What she never expected was for Jordan to betray her in front of the entire internet, letting millions of viewers watch her completely lose control. Even worse, instead of receiving sympathy, Padgett lost hundreds of thousands of followers overnight and became the target of endless ridicule.
Bubble Girl? Who's Bubble Girl?
You are.
How am I Bubble?
Meanwhile, Jordan, the one who had cheated, wasn't criticized at all and even gained more than 100,000 followers overnight, which nearly drove Padgett crazy.
Hey, Bubble Girl, you need me to pop that thing for you?
Back off, sleazeball!
Before Padgett could finish complaining, her sponsor Jessica called. Because Padgett's public image had been badly damaged, Jessica immediately decided to end their partnership.
Pay you because you're the makeover girl. People buy products that you recommend.
And I'm still that girl.
No, you're a meme. You're Bubble Girl. And mucus is just not on brand for us.
The sudden news left Padgett stunned. Losing the sponsorship meant not only falling from the top of the school back into the life she had tried so hard to hide, but also losing the money she needed for college. Padgett couldn't accept that. After desperately pleading with Jessica, she was finally given 1 month to repair her image, but saying it was easy and doing it was another matter. After the scandal, Padgett's status at school collapsed, and even Alden, who had always flattered her, began mocking her. Padgett didn't care and confidently believed that if she could create one Jordan, she could create another. Her confidence immediately triggered Alden's jealousy, so Alden proposed a bet. If Padgett could transform someone and have him win Prom King beside her as prom queen 10 days later, Padgett would win. But there was one condition: Alden would choose the guy herself. Padgett knew Alden was up to no good, but she couldn't back down without losing face, so she reluctantly agreed. Sure enough, Alden deliberately chose Cameron Queller, the school's most notorious outsider. This immediately put Padgett in a difficult position because Cameron dressed carelessly, had a strange and withdrawn personality, and barely socialized with anyone except his childhood friend Nisha. Turning him into the school's hottest guy in only 10 days seemed almost impossible. But when Padgett learned from Quinn that Cameron was often bullied by Jordan, she finally decided to go through with the makeover. After all, the bet could repair her ruined reputation while also humiliating the ex-boyfriend who betrayed her. So there was no reason to pass up such a perfect opportunity. The next morning, Padgett dressed carefully and waited along Cameron's usual route to school, pretending their meeting was just a coincidence. She expected her beauty to easily catch his attention, but Cameron wasn't impressed at all and walked away before she could even finish speaking. Watching nearby, Cameron's younger sister Bryn was almost more anxious than Padgett. Bryn happened to be one of Padgett's biggest fans, and once she realized Padgett seemed interested in Cameron, she immediately became their matchmaker and told her almost everything about her brother. With Bryn secretly helping her, Padgett finally found an opening. She went to the stable where Cameron worked and pretended to run into him by accident. Then she offered to help with his work in exchange for a riding lesson. Although Padgett ended up falling hard from the horse, the accident unexpectedly broke through Cameron's cold attitude and made him see this seemingly arrogant popular girl differently. Padgett seized the chance and invited Cameron out as a way of thanking him.
Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for this morning. My butt is so sore, I could barely walk. Things got messy.
Context, please?
I gave her a writing lesson.
I bet you did.
Horse riding.
Part of one, anyway. And as a way of saying thanks, there is a karaoke party this Saturday at my friend Quinn's house, and I was hoping you guys could come.
Yeah. I don't.
We'll be there. Perfect.
With Nisha repeatedly encouraging him, Cameron reluctantly agreed. Even though Cameron arrived dressed from head to toe and looked completely out of place at the party, Padgett was secretly thrilled because her makeover plan had finally taken its first real step. Neither of them knew their real story was only beginning. To attract Cameron's attention, Padgett walked onto the stage and performed one of her best songs. Her beautiful voice and energetic dancing instantly captured Cameron's attention.
You're enjoying her!
What? No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
But just as the performance reached its climax, Jordan shamelessly arrived with the girl he had cheated with. The sight instantly froze Padgett and left her mind completely blank. Just when Padgett was about to face another humiliating disaster, Cameron unexpectedly stepped forward and rushed onto the stage to save her. His sudden appearance felt like a beam of sunlight cutting through all the panic inside Padgett. She never imagined the usually quiet and awkward Cameron could have such a dazzling side. Their surprisingly perfect performance not only saved Padgett from embarrassment but also sent her live stream exploding with activity, bringing in tens of thousands of new followers. After that night, Cameron stopped deliberately resisting Padgett and even offered to drive her home. Padgett hadn't forgotten her real mission, so while Cameron wasn't looking, she secretly slipped her wallet into the passenger side door to create another reason to see him. The next day, Padgett called Bryn and used the missing wallet as an excuse. Bryn was thrilled to receive a call from her idol and immediately invited Padgett over, even encouraging Cameron to give her another writing lesson so the two could spend time alone. With Bryn constantly pushing them together, Padgett and Cameron slowly began growing closer. As they rode side by side beneath the sunlight, both gradually lowered their defenses, and Padgett finally began seeing who Cameron really was. Cameron wasn't naturally strange or antisocial. After his mother died in a plane crash, the pain made him afraid to get close to anyone or trust people again. Over time, he completely shut himself away from the world. Then Padgett appeared like a bright and sincere light, slowly breaking through the walls around Cameron's heart. But Cameron had no idea that this sudden warmth had originally started with a carefully planned bet. Alden naturally wasn't going to miss the chance to watch everything unfold, so she pressured Padgett into bringing Cameron to her birthday party.
Depends. Are you free next weekend?
Why?
It's my friend Alden's birthday, and she's having a theme party.
Completely unaware of the truth, Cameron believed Padgett's invitation meant she genuinely liked him and happily agreed. Under Padgett's relentless persuasion, Cameron finally accepted a complete makeover. People always say there are no ugly women, only lazy ones, and apparently the same rule works for men. Under Padgett's expert makeover, the messy and awkward Cameron seemed to become a completely different person. His new appearance attracted everyone's attention and even left Padgett staring at him with her heart racing.
Oh, well, if I didn't know any better, and you weren't my brother, I'd say you looked pretty hot. Right, Padgett?
Yeah.
The moment Cameron entered the party, he became the center of attention and drew flirtatious looks from girls everywhere. Even Alden was shocked by Padgett's ability to transform him.
Padge, I don't know what you did to that Cameron guy, but damn.
Yeah, if you don't blow it for me.
But Alden wasn't worried because she had already prepared her next move. Jordan suddenly approached Padgett pretending to still love her, but in reality his new girlfriend had already dumped him, and he only wanted to use Padgett to rebuild his image as a devoted boyfriend. Padgett had already seen through him and was completely disgusted. After knocking the drink from Jordan's hand, she walked away without looking back and pulled Cameron outside to take photos together. Inside the tiny photo booth, Padgett expected the shy Cameron to become nervous, but instead he looked at her with a soft and sincere expression.
But it must be so hard to make yourself look terrible when you're naturally so,
What?
beautiful.
The mood immediately became romantic. Just as they slowly leaned closer, a sudden commotion outside destroyed the moment. After failing to win Padgett back, Jordan turned his attention toward Bryn, instantly igniting Cameron's anger.
Frickin' piece of
What? Come on, don't tell me she's your girlfriend.
No, she's my little sister, you idiot.
Jordan couldn't believe the quiet guy who normally tolerated his bullying would dare confront him in public. so he angrily challenged Cameron to fight. But Jordan had no idea what he was getting himself into. As Jordan threw punch after punch, Cameron calmly dodged every attack. It turned out Cameron had trained in martial arts since childhood and could tolerate people bullying him. But hurting Bryn was crossing the line. With only a few moves, Cameron sent Jordan crashing to the ground and won cheers from everyone watching. But Cameron had no interest in staying and only wanted to take Bryn home. Unable to accept the humiliation, Jordan took out his anger on Cameron's camera. That camera was the only thing Cameron had left from his mother. After recovering the broken camera, Cameron left the party heartbroken no matter how desperately Padgett called after him. When Cameron questioned Padgett,
"What am I doing here, Padgett? I mean, why after 4 years did you suddenly start talking to me?"
I don't know.
she couldn't bring herself to reveal the truth because she was terrified of losing him. But her hesitation only disappointed him more. Padgett tried to follow and explain, but Alden stopped her. Instead of comforting Padgett, Alden blamed Cameron for ruining her birthday party and sarcastically asked whether Padgett had actually fallen for the guy she was supposed to transform. Padgett immediately denied it, but the panic on her face had already revealed everything. That was exactly the reaction Alden wanted. Still unaware of Alden's real intentions, Padgett blamed herself for everything and prepared to go live to control the damage. But then something completely unexpected happened. The video of Cameron beating Jordan spread across the internet like wildfire, gaining endless praise and discussion. Even Jessica contacted Padgett almost immediately and showed interest in restarting their sponsorship. Cameron also went from a complete nobody to a school-wide hero overnight and quickly climbed to the top of the Prom King voting. If Padgett could win beside him, she could completely repair her reputation while creating the perfect viral story of an outsider becoming king. But just as Padgett excitedly went looking for Cameron, Alden stopped her again. It turned out Alden had already gotten together with Jordan and proudly announced that she planned to take the prom queen crown from Padgett. Only then did Padgett finally realize that the livestream disaster that ruined her reputation had been deliberately caused by Alden. Alden had known all along that Padgett's wealthy socialite image was fake and had always looked down on her. What Alden couldn't accept was that a poor girl like Padgett had somehow stolen all the attention she believed belonged to her. As years of jealousy grew into resentment, Alden finally decided to destroy everything Padgett had built.
Don't worry, your secret's safe with me. If I want it to be. Guess it's game on, bubble girl.
Padgett could hardly believe that someone she had trusted for so long had been hiding this much hatred. Fortunately, Quinn still stood firmly beside her and didn't care whether Padgett was rich or poor. Then good fortune finally arrived.
Hey, you got a sec?
Didn't think you were talking to me anymore.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I got really pissed off, but you didn't do anything.
Wanting to apologize, Cameron invited Padgett to his house and, for the first time, allowed an outsider into his private darkroom, a place so personal that even Bryn normally couldn't enter. There Padgett finally discovered Cameron's hidden talent. With his photography skills, Cameron could easily make money, but he refused to chase fame or profit and only wanted to use his camera to capture honest and beautiful moments while protecting the passion his mother had left behind. That quiet sincerity completely captured Padgett's heart and even made her forget the ridiculous bet for a moment. But Cameron's next words pulled her straight back into reality.
There's something I need to tell you.
And I need to tell you something too.
Okay?
Well, you asked me why I invited you here. Because I trust you.
When Cameron told Padgett that he trusted her, those simple words cut deep into her heart as guilt and love collided inside her. Unable to face that trust, Padgett suddenly ran away, leaving Cameron completely confused about what he had done wrong. With no idea what else to do, Cameron turned to Bryn for advice. Bryn had almost no real romantic experience, but she had watched enough romance movies to consider herself an expert. So Cameron followed her advice and carefully prepared a romantic prom proposal for Padgett. Padgett was so happy that she immediately agreed. But at the worst possible moment, Alden appeared again and destroyed everything. Under Alden's relentless pressure, Padgett finally had no choice but to reveal the entire truth. But it was already too late. And even though Padgett tearfully begged Cameron to forgive her, Alden kept twisting the situation and making everything worse.
Kind of person, Padgett.
The biggest loser we could find so she could turn him into prom king.
But that was before.
Wait, so I was a bet.
No.
No, I was a
Realizing that what he thought was real had started as nothing more than a bet, Cameron was devastated and walked away. Padgett later sent him countless apology messages but never received a reply. With nowhere else to turn, she finally called Bryn. After learning the truth, even Bryn was deeply disappointed and told Padgett to stay away from her brother.
I know you two have lost so much more than me, but I've lost a lot recently. I lost my friends. I lost my college fund. I lost my self-respect. But the only thing I truly care about losing is your brother.
Their relationship seemed over, leaving nothing but regret. No matter how hard Padgett tried to make things right, Cameron never appeared at the prom, giving Alden another chance to mock her. But Alden's smile didn't last long because although Jordan easily won Prom King, the Prom Queen crown still went to Padgett. Yet standing there with the honor she had wanted so badly, Padgett felt almost nothing. In front of everyone, she finally removed the mask she had worn for so long and openly showed the embarrassing, unfiltered photos she had always hidden. Padgett admitted that she had spent years caring too much about appearances and constantly shaping herself into the person she thought everyone wanted to see. She believed that if enough people liked her, she would finally become someone important, but eventually realized that constantly trying to please everyone only exhausted her and hurt the people who genuinely cared about her.
He said, high school's just a bunch of scared people pretending to be something they're not, especially when we're at our worst. But it doesn't have to be that way. That's the lesson he taught me. I only wish I didn't have to lose him to learn it.
Now Padgett finally understood that losing the most important person in her life made winning everything else meaningless. So she willingly returned the crown that represented everything she had once chased and walked away from the glamorous stage that was supposed to belong to her. Padgett thought her story with Cameron had ended there, but the moment she stepped outside, she suddenly heard the familiar sound of a horse. She could hardly believe her eyes because Cameron had actually appeared in front of her riding a white horse. It turned out Padgett's heartfelt speech had finally softened Bryn's heart, so she took Cameron's formal clothes and went to find him hiding alone at the stable. Bryn still believed Padgett's reckless bet had deeply hurt her brother, but she also had to admit that Cameron had changed for the better after meeting her. With Bryn's encouragement, Cameron finally understood what truly mattered. How they first met no longer mattered because the feelings between them had become real. A relationship that began with a bet had survived lies, betrayal, forgiveness, and genuine love before finally becoming something neither of them expected. Because the best kind of redemption isn't needing someone perfect, but seeing each other's flaws, dropping the masks, and still choosing to forgive, grow, and walk toward each other. I'll see you in the next movie.